So tonight's episode of American Horror Story opened with that disclaimer that they edited the gun violence in this episode in respect to the Las Vegas incident. When I saw this, I was proud of the show for doing that. I thought that was a great move, but I was worried because from a selfish point of view as a viewer, I was thinking, oh no, I hope it doesn't leave anything out important we need for a scene or something that might be essential. That opening sequence, we hear gunshots, and right away, you could figure out this is probably the scene that was affected by the editing. But I wonder what they really edited out, because I thought the way it was edited, if they fixed it, was great. I thought it worked with cutting out some of the gun violence, and it made more sense not to show a bunch to keep the big reveal at the end shocking. I have not seen the unedited version that was put on FX On Demand. If you have, by the time you've watched it, please comment below with what exactly the difference is, if anyone catches it. It'd be greatly appreciated. I'm super interested to see what was taken out, because honestly, I don't see anything that could have been added to benefit this episode. But what a beginning. Seeing Sarah Paulson shaking, trembling with that gun in her hand, giving the illusion that she was the one who assassinated Kai, really gets you pumped for the episode. And then the episode goes back in time from that sequence and leads all the way up back to that sequence. That kind of storytelling always makes an episode much more exciting, because you kind of know where it's going, but you just want to know how it got there. So props to the show for doing that. And speaking of editing, this episode was edited really well, because it's going from different timelines constantly, from election night to the night after the election to the present time to the past, way past. It's really well edited to put this all together as a story and still make sense of it and not get people confused. And for anyone who's hating this editing out for gun violence, the Las Vegas tragedies, you got to realize too, other outlets have been doing this. And I went to New York Comic Con this past weekend, and I was really excited for the Punisher panel, and they canceled the panel in respect to Las Vegas. So this is only a small step of adjusting to current circumstances. This isn't a huge step, so I don't know why people wouldn't understand this. It's a very serious issue, and it's just not right timing. What I really enjoyed about this episode is it really centered around Meadow here. We got to know her character really well, and the surprise that she was in love with Kai. I did not see that coming. And then we saw this side of Kai that's using master manipulation through love and through creating jealousy, to the point where Meadow's willing to sacrifice her life, thinking that this is part of this love that her and Kai have, when you know Kai is just using her as his next step to get where he wants to be in power. And it's a perfect plan. He's one step ahead of everyone in this show. He was one step ahead of me. Halfway through, I figured, you know what? This was a setup assassination he's probably going to end up with to give him that big spotlight. And then you clearly can tell right away, once Meadow shoots him in the knee, that she didn't mean to actually try to kill him, and you can tell this was all planned. But I did not see it coming that Meadow was the one who shot him. I really did think it was Allie, Sarah Paulson's character. So they fooled me on that, and I like they didn't drag us to get back to that scene, that they actually did get back to that scene this episode, because they started with that and they ended with it. So well done there too. And a really great scene we've kind of been waiting for was Ivy when she first met Kai, and him doing the pinky and seeing what her worst fear is. And she first goes, Trump getting elected, but he goes, no, BS, what is it really? And then we really get the skeletons out, and she's saying how she's basically hated Allie since the birth of their son, literally the day of. It was really interesting to show how these two lesbians still have a baby through normal birth, and that there couldn't be that jealousy revolved around who's actually the natural mother, and this hate and resentment, and the way Allie wasn't so innocent either, and the way she talked to Ivy about her being its mom and not like them together being the nurturer, let's say. So that is an interesting debate on woman's natural instinct versus taking fully the breadwinner's role. So it's a cool way to deep into that psychology, and I hope they delve into that more with these two characters. But we see right away Kai suggested murder and getting rid of Allie that way. And now, in this episode, it wrapped around perfectly to see Ivy finding Allie in that great scene with the clowns and Sally, the person running against Kai's house, and Ivy not killing Allie, which is going to be huge, because if Kai finds that out, it's going to be trouble for Ivy. But it's also a really smart move by the writers, because it leaves the door open for Ivy to be the one who maybe can make the real good choice and eventually stop Kai from the inside. And speaking of that scene in Sally's house, Sally seemed like an awesome character. It's unfortunate she had to die in this episode, because she was really cool, speaking a lot of sense into Kai, just in general, maybe to the whole population right now. This is the type of woman I hope we get to run one day. Really cool character. But her death scene had maybe the best line of the season from Kai, where he's like, Facebook, you are old. Great line. Very in touch with now. And it was a clever way how he set up her suicide note through Facebook, through her status. So chilling in a way and very effective. But as we see, Meadow is in on it still the whole time. So is a therapist. Everyone's still in on it. And poor Allie, who I'm the only one I'm rooting for here, clearly, will look even more crazy now in the eyes of the public. I wonder where they can go with her character now. But our only hope here is Ivy really telling the public that, wait, my wife isn't crazy. She is right, because I'm part of this cult and it's a real thing. I don't think it's smart on Kai's strategy here to have Allie used as a public figure of craziness. I think that just risks more loose ends. Why even have that? So that was a little odd to me that he planned that. Maybe it was just a convenient fit to keep Allie's character part of the story with Kai's mission. Not really sure how I felt about that. But the assassination was brilliant to get him on a national scale. That can really amp things up here with his whole campaign. And we see with the previews for next week, it looks like there's going to be a lot of new players added to the show, which is going to add a nice little refresh to this story, open more doors, and some familiar faces from other seasons of American Horror Story coming on, which is always great. The past 3 episodes have been really, really good. The momentum for this season has been impressive since about episode 4, where I didn't really like the beginning of this season, but now I'm really enjoying it. It's made a hell of a comeback, and it keeps going. So I'm going to give this episode a solid 8. It wasn't amazing, but it was really well done, enjoyable. Did have me on the edge of my seat at points, and had some really, really good acting here and really good editing. But I will say, I'm really getting sick of that song in the show that goes, oh, oh, oh man, I am so done with it. So that would be my only complaint at the moment is I don't think it's good music and it's just overdone. That's important too here, so I would like a little more variation on the soundtrack. I know I'm nitpicking, but really annoying that song. But I'm enjoying this. I'm excited to see what next week's going to bring. Please comment below with your thoughts on this episode, what you thought of the whole gun editing, any theories you have, who you're rooting for too. I'm interested to see that. Please let me know your thoughts. I respond to everybody. And please subscribe and keep coming back. I review every episode of American Horror Story. I also do movie reviews, trailer reactions, and celebrity interviews. So please give me a thumbs up if you can and keep coming back.